Welcome back to Notebook Check, where we've got the Dell Latitude E5470. Yeah, the 5470 14-inch business focused laptop, which scored 89% on our full review, which is an excellent score. So if you're sort of thinking of buying this, 89% score is something you can rely on and go out straight away and have confidence this is going to be a good laptop. But I'm going to give you 4 things that weren't so good about it, which sort of prevents it from getting above that magic sort of 90% figure that we rarely see in our tests at Notebook Check. Number 1, fingerprint sensitive casing. That's because it's a rubberized finish, and obviously that's because it's there to make it grippy so that it doesn't fall out of your hands. Slight lack of sensitivity on the edges of that touchpad. We saw some throttling on the CPU GPU load test we did, and if you know our test, that's a very heavy load test, and that's really just a lab test that just tests the high-end performance. You probably won't achieve that in normal daily usage. And the other thing was there's no USB type C connector on this, but there's a whole lot of other ports and a whole lot of other features. Let's take a look around the device first, and then we'll go into some of the details of this device, and I'll give you our performance test results. So this is a €1,200 laptop with a Core i5 quad core inside, 4 threads. It doesn't do the full 8-thread hyper-threading trick that some of the quad cores do. And it's a Skylake rather than a KB Lake generation, but that's not that important for most of you because the performance difference is marginal on that. We've got a full HD panel, it's 14-inch, and you'll see some performance test results on that. It's a nice panel. 8 gigs of RAM, and we've got a 256 gig SSD. I'll give you the performance results on that. So a nicely rounded, very much sort of high-end Ultrabook type of specification here. Weighs 1.8 kilograms, so not too heavy as well. It feels really, really sturdy. Of course, you expect that in a business laptop. There's not a lot of flex in the screen. There seems to be a really sturdy casing. A nice finish to it as well. It's a little bit industrial looking, but that is par for the course for a lot of these business laptops. I'm going to take you around the ports now. On this side you'll see the important Kensington lock port, super speed, that's a USB 3 connector. We've got the SD card slot reader there and a single headset port. Going to the back, there you've got a couple of hints there that this is going to be a business focused laptop. There's the Gigabit Ethernet port, the VGA port, of course, for those of you going into presentations, you need that VGA connector. We have got the LTE module on this one, HDMI out, another USB 3 pointing to the back, and there's the power connector there. And then on the left-hand side, super speed USB, so that is USB 3.1 Rev 1, so the old USB 3.0, and a smart card reader as well. So security, obviously important for many of you. We've got TPM inside. We've got Windows 10 Pro on here. We've also got, you can just see that there, a fingerprint reader as well. And this is not just a Windows Home type fingerprint reader. This is a proper biometric fingerprint scanner. So a higher level of security there. Keyboard, of course, is fantastic. You've got 3-level backlighting. You've got the touch pointer in the middle, the dual options on the mouse buttons. So you've got that option there at the top there if you want to use the touch pointer. Nice keypad and separate mouse buttons, which are really nice and silky to use, and the whole thing is just really high quality there. Small arrow buttons might affect some of you. This is a German layout, but I didn't have any problems with it, and I really, really love that keyboard. That throw over 1 millimeter, probably 1.2. I'm not quite sure the actual figures, but it looks like about 1.2. Nice and soft, nice and quiet, and a really good setup there. Let's take a look at the screen now. The screen could be brighter. It doesn't compete in brightness with some of the latest devices, but it's a matte screen. The contrast is around 500 to 1. That's not brilliant. That's not brilliant, but it's actually going to be okay for you guys that are working in office environments. Viewing angles are good. sRGB coverage was, I think, 80 to 90%, 85%, I think, was the figure there. And the colors are accurate as well. So out of the box, the colors are relatively accurate, so you won't have to go and worry about calibrating this. Overall, good screen there. No problems with the screen for office users. Just want to mention two things that I forgot to mention there. That's the Wi-Fi performance has been very good in our tests, and the SD card reader, excellent performance in our test as well. So those two figures really bringing it up a couple of points over some of the competition there. Screen lays all the way back flat, so you've got nice flexibility there. And let's just go to the bottom where I can show you the docking port for a docking station, and the fact that it's actually very easy to get the bottom off this. There's no maintenance hatch per se, but you can get those screws off, and there's a picture of the insides of the E5470. So I mentioned this has got a quad-core non-hyper-threading CPU inside. Per core performance is on par with some of the latest Core i5, Core i7 Ultrabooks. But when you get to quad-core, that Cinebench multi-CPU test, you can see a decent bit of performance over and above what you get from a U-series CPU. PCMark 8 score of 4612 is excellent, and that's basically because everything is really well balanced inside this, including the SSD. Let's take a look at the SSD scores. This model has a SATA 3 connected SSD. The performance is fine. You're up there towards the high end of SATA 3 performance. But if you want more, the M2 slot supports NVMe, so you can drop in a nice PCIe connected SSD and really boost the SSD performance. So there's an upgrade path here. If you want to do some gaming, the HD Graphics 530 inside isn't that good. You'll get some entry-level stuff done at low settings and low resolutions. So if you're away for a weekend, you can catch up on a bit, but you won't be able to really have the best experience out of this. Noise is important. As I've been standing here, this has been completely silent, but take a look at our test, because our reviewer heard an electronic whistling noise, whether that was coil whine or whether that was the fan spinning up. I can't tell you here. Take a look at the full review where our reviewer mentions that electronic noise. So maybe under load, those fans aren't optimal. Having said that, we've been sitting here for the last 15 minutes with it, and it's been absolutely silent. I've mentioned the CPU throttling on this. It's a fairly small form factor quad core, so I'm not surprised. And what Dell have done, have tried to keep it cool as well. So that's always the trade-off. That size, that noise, and that heat. And that throttling trade-off is something you'll always find. And on a business laptop, it's usually optimized towards the quieter, cooler end of the spectrum. So no surprises there that it is quiet, is cool, but slightly throttled. Right, battery life, quad core and a 62 watt hour battery. What was I expecting? I was expecting around 5 hours of Wi-Fi usage. This comes in at above that. 7 hours, 12 minutes of Wi-Fi browsing and over 6 hours of video playback at 150 nits with the full HD resolution is actually pretty good. Remember, this is a 1.8 kilo device. It's not the lightest, but I personally use a quad core. That is 2 kilos, that's for video editing. That doesn't have anything near that battery life, so that is quite an interesting proposition if you want to do some media editing on the go with the E5470. So the simple summary here is that it scored 89%, which is an excellent score. You don't really need to be worried about much unless you want to get the peak of performance out of a quad core, in which case you might be wanting to look at something a little bit thicker, therefore better thermals, something with hyper-threading, better performance, but you'll pay in battery life and you'll pay in weight as well. So I think Dell have come up with a good, well-balanced 1.8 kilo, 14-inch full HD quad-core PC here, laptop, and 89% shows that it's probably a very good buy. $1,199 was the test price. Prices, of course, come down after time, so check the local pricing for yourself. Don't forget to give us a like if you enjoyed this video, if you got something out of it. Comments if you've got this laptop below in the video. Be really interested to hear your experience with this laptop, whether you've got any quirks that you found after long-term use. And don't forget to subscribe where we are ready to give you a Mobile World Congress. Mobile World Congress is coming up in 3 or 4 days from me. I'm going out on Saturday, so subscribe and we'll give you some updates from Mobile World Congress. New mic in use today. I want your feedback on that if possible. New lighting setup, this dual cam, is that good enough for you? Let me know and we'll try and make it better for you, because that's what we want to do, give you the best reviews and the best review videos. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.